Karate THOR reacts to karate. So, hello, we're all time for another baby metal video, right? So, last time we did the ElectricCallboy, which of course was an amazing music video. After that, I just felt really inspired to check out ElectricCallboy's other music, which is really good, man. Super catchy, super earworm, it's crazy, man. But now, I want to check out karate here. So, me, myself, of course, I am a karate champion. Also done other martial art. Because of Japanese martial art, taijutsu, and of course mostly judo. Judo was the first one I really grew up with. Competed judo for many years. Also karate, of course. Taekwondo, Thai boxing, and so on, right? So I've been doing a lot of martial arts. I got several different black belts. And actually, this is not a joke, guys. I have a bandit next to me here. Yesterday, after I went to the gym, what do you think happened? I actually slipped on some mud. Master martial artist, and my leg was stuck in the ground from that, and I snapped my ankle. Okay, so that's why I actually have my aqua next to me here, because I'm sitting next, I'm lying. So I'm editing videos right now. I'm like lying in the sofa here. I like have my leg up here, right? But yeah, I got completely like broke my leg. There I can show it. It's super freaking. Yeah, it's freaking swollen like crazy. But it's not that bad. It's not even blue, right? So I did go to the hospital. Because I'm a badass martial artist. No, but seriously, right? I have hurt my leg so many times in my life, especially doing karate, but also mostly taekwondo and Thai boxing and kickboxing, right? So you know, even though I slipped, I immediately was like, this is broken. I know how it feels when your leg is broken. It's like, I know how it feels, right? I just actually had a conversation with my coworker this Friday. I explained to him, I got stabbed, you know, I got shot that time and so on. Yeah, I was like, no, I know it feels very good, yeah. Because people saw me falling, right? It was actually pretty. The people were walking by there, pretty central place in the city, and they thought I died, like literally. Okay, because when I felt that my leg got stuck, right, and started slipping, and it's weird. I was like, my leg got stuck between like the pavement and whatever, right? I immediately like a fall, right? So I can't remember what it's called in English, but it's called framfall in Swedish, right? Yeah. So I made like a judo when you kind of basically fall purposely by yourself, right? You know. So as soon as I felt my leg was stuck, right, I kind of threw myself to the ground and did like a somersault, basically, right, and spin around, right. And I was like 5 people seeing it, right? So they all got like, oh my god, this guy died now. Yeah. They were like, hit his head or whatever, right? But I completely got fine, yeah, because of course when you do a fall technique, right, you're rolling your shoulders over, right? So I didn't get any, damage in my brain or my organs, right? That's what it's all about. You sacrifice your limbs, your arm or your finger or your toe or whatever, right? So you don't take any damage into like your, like your heart or whatever. Right? So I was like, no, I'm fine, guys. And then this guy seeing it calls the ambulance. This is serious. This is 100% serious. It happened like 10 hours ago. Yeah, I just woke up, guys, okay? I just woke up. This happened like 10 hours ago. And this guy calls the ambulance, right? I'm like, I don't get that. I'm like, no. And that sounds like I'm a badass THOR, but seriously, right? I was like, no, I just woke up, right? And I'm just like, no, just give me like an hour and I can just walk up, right? And I was like, no, he's not broken. I'm not gonna spend my time, going to get a hospital, right? But in all seriousness, you should of course take care of your body, guys. The hospital. No, but the thing is that, right? And I mean it's very, very genuine here, is that I am 100% sure, right, that my leg or my ankle wasn't broken, right? It's just massively twisted, okay? And like I said earlier, really with this karate storyline here, and this is 100% true, is that I have broken my leg before, right? More than once, yeah. More than one occasion, right? I have been in a lot of fights, both tournament, training, and also all the accidents, right? There's a lot of sports in my life, a lot of, full contact sports, right? Competitive, like Thai boxing and so on, right? So I know exactly how it feels when you actually break your ankle or your wrist or whatever, right? Or your leg. I broke my arm here, I broke my arm, broke my shoulder, right? I know how it feels. So I'm just like, no, it's not broken, okay? I don't need to go to the hospital to get an x-ray, right? To tell me what I already know, okay? You trust me, you know how it feels, yeah. And then people ask me, it's like, 7 out of 10, it's like 7 out of 10, yeah. It's like, it's really painful. Thing is that I think a lot of people probably feel more worried to reasons I bring it up here. First of all, it hurt like hell, right, when it just happens, right. The first 5 minutes, right, it is truly like 10 out of 10 pain, right, So I couldn't stand for like the first 10 minutes, right, So after I did my somersault, I was like, I'm gonna lay here now for like probably 10 minutes, right. I was like, okay, it's worse now. It's worse than it usually is. Okay, whatever. Like I lie for an hour, and I just walk home. You know what I mean? Like it's that kind of feeling. Like, yeah, okay, no, it's really painful right now. But if you give me like an hour, I can actually walk home. And I did walk home by myself. Right? I did walk home by myself, and then you test yourself to if I can walk home. It's not broken, right? My wife's so cute. No, yeah, and I texted my wife like, yeah, I think I'm like probably. No, I didn't break my leg. I think I can probably walk fine. She's like, should I come and get you? I was like, nah. The thing is that I was like, normally it was like 10 minutes to walk from where I was, right? Like a 2-hour house, right? So I was like, nah, it probably takes like an hour to walk on this leg. So I probably just get home, you know? I was like, nah. But it's that kind of feeling, right? But so that's one thing. Like I genuinely knew, and maybe I'm wrong then, but it's that kind of feeling, right? If you're like 99% sure that it's not broken, okay? Like what can they do, okay? What can they do, right? And I have all the stuff at home. Right? And actually, I usually have a medic pack on me in my backpack. So I usually have on me when I actually out walking, right? But that yesterday, of course, one of the few times I didn't have my backpack on me. What about I have it, right? Usually have the different bandages and, you know, all this different stuff, right? And medical tape and so on, which I have a lot of that, right? Been a thing I have before life and so forth, right? So I was like, okay, I have to walk home and put it on later. But it's unfortunate. Otherwise, you of course put it on immediately to put pressure on it, right? And so forth. But yeah, so that's one thing. So you should, of course, take care of your body. But I'm like, no, I know, okay? This is how it is if you train too much karate, okay? Then you know what's up, man. Secondly, and this is why I break it down. It's a funny thing, and hope you guys, there's no one has watched the video by now. I just feel like everyone, I'm not gonna edit this out, guys, okay? This is therapy for me. I'm not gonna edit it out. No, but one thing I think is very interesting, if you train a lot of martial arts, especially with judo, okay, is that with judo, right? And taijutsu and so on, and also or jutsu basically, soft martial art. Like karate is a hard martial art, right? And judo, and ju means it's soft, right? It's a soft martial art. You can like soft punch, right? So it's like a soft martial art, which basically means throws, right? Throws and grabs and so on. That means that you learn to fall, right? You learn to throw yourself to the ground, you fall, and I've been in dojos too. So when I started doing other martial arts, right, after judo, if someone sweeps me or throws me, right, I will purposely jump down myself, okay? And that is not to be like a bad uke and just take the blow or whatever, and they just would learn like correctly. That is because if someone has grabbed you and throwing you, right, the best strategy, if you can't like escape it by that time, right, is to actually, jump by yourself, right, so you can reduce your actual damage, right? So I've done it in dojos where I've like been there as a guest maybe, like been a guest lecturer, so to speak, right, or just done some other martial arts, and some people get scared for that, yeah, because I really hit off the ground, if I fall, right, I'm gonna do a somersault and I'm gonna punch the ground with my hands or legs, right, like badunk, that thing, right, and it gives you a massive sound effect when you do that. So I would definitely be there in dojo, like in all dojos, that people are getting afraid, like, oh, the guy broke his leg or something, like bam, because you land, you do this thing after you land, and they get like, shit, the guy is like has broken its arm or something, but that's a technique, right, to reduce your actual damage, because you're gonna punch your way from the ground, right. So I've seen people that are even themselves experience martial arts, but they're not experienced in like judo and taijutsu, so on. So they get confused when you do that like escape landing technique, right. Which is very, very, again, it's very loud, right? So I did yesterday evening then, right? And I spin around, like, bam, I do that thing, right? When I land, people are like, watching me fall, right? Like doing this, like, purposely fall thing. They think that I died. They're like, shit, the guy probably died. That was like an explosion, right? They're like, Bakugo! Yeah. They're like, Baku! Yeah. They're like, what's happening? It's fine. I just punched the ground by myself. I like, bounce off the ground like a monster, right? Yeah. They're like, what? So I think that really, like, this big scares people with no experience with martial art. Yeah, they're like, what happened, man? That was like explosive. Anyway, now we're gonna watch Karate BABYMETAL. Then that was like a long intro, guys. But this is why I love timestamps, okay? And I sincerely say that I really love the time system, right? So people complain to me, say, oh, it's a long intro, or this is a life story, or whatever. No, it's a life story now, guys. And if you're not interested in life story, you can just press the timestamp, right? Because I know people are going to write an evil, mean comment to me, say, F you for this thing, or whatever, right? But I'm just like, press the timestamp, right? You're going to have a timestamp telling you when the reaction starts, right? You don't have to listen to my, aching about martial arts or whatever, right? But if you do like that, though, I hope you press the smash button, subscribe button, right? Because I am genuinely I know I've been doing martial arts like what 30 years now, right? Competitively, I've been around, you know. I even as a kid, okay, I was like 16 something. I got invited to go to Japan. Yeah, the first time going to Japan, Nippon, was because I was very good in this one martial art, and then the trainer, he went to Japan like a month per year. So I got invited to go with them to Japan, right, and live it like a dojo in Japan. It's another video, guys, but you get my point. So let's check out karate here. But I done a lot of karate on in my life then, and that was karate though. So not the martial, you know the Japanese martial art, but I done a lot of this martial art. Karate I started when I was like 15, 16. There was no karate dojo in my hometown until I was like 15, I think, 15 and a half or something. That's when they opened that dojo up, okay? And then it was kind of funny because my mom's best friend, like my auntie basically, right? She's actually a black belt in karate, which hadn't done it for like 20 years. So she started also training in the same dojo. So I was like, yeah, it's like my auntie then. Yeah, I was like, yeah, but she used to train martial, you know, she was like an old black belt then, right? And she was like, okay, I'm gonna get in shape and started training with the new guy then running this new dojo then. In my hometown when it started, but yeah, there was no like we had judo so in my hometown, but we didn't have any karate when I was a kid. That's why I didn't start with it until later. But anyway, log intro, let's go. Yeah, this seems kind of weird. There's more like a death thing going on here. Baby metal, yeah, like what is this thing? Dead guys, and it's obviously a post then, yeah, start a kata. Before we start here, this is obviously mainly a kata, right? So a kata is you see this all the time at the martial art movies, especially these like Chinese, you know, Shaolin stuff. They stand and do the moves, right? So this is a very common way to train martial art, and you have it in like all the different classes of martial art, right? So in karate, it's very, very common that you train your kata, right? So usually how it works, and correct me if I'm wrong here, but this is how I got it, right? The same thing in taekwondo, so but it's called pomse in Korean, though it's not called kata. But I digress. My point is that this is very, very common. So what you do, right, is that you usually have like 1 or 2 katas per belt. So usually like you have to learn this technique, right, and you have to learn to do the correct move, right, and it has to be like maybe 40 to 50 or so techniques you have to do, and it might be the same thing, okay, so it might be like you block this, right, you block up that, so it might be like, you know, you do the same thing more than once. Usually it's like, you know, you block left, you block right, you punch left, you kick left, you kick right, you do that for like a few minutes, and it's like a very specific choreography path you have to learn, right? And like I said, it tends to be 1 or 2 per belt, and then you have to like learn, and then obviously it gets harder and harder, right? So each belt you get like a harder kata, and then you tend to, so I train in karate kind of hardcore, because to get our belts right, we have to do all the other katas. That's a common strategy from the master. So you have to do like 1 kata, right, for first belt. But if you're doing a second belt, you have to get next Q. You have to do both the first kata and the next kata, right? So if you're getting your Dan then, your first black belt, you have to do like 9 katas in a row. Yeah, you have to do all of them. Usually in our dojo then, more than every dojo I've been in, actually, mostly, usually you would do it all together, right? So basically everyone that's graduating, right, are doing like the first kata, and then they are the kids or whatever, right, only get 1 belt or whatever, they will stop there, right, and then you do the second kata, third kata, fourth kata. So I'm kind of used to this moment here. We get into the dojo and start off a graduation day, right, and it's like you have to do like 12 katas, right, and it's really, really tiresome when you do it in that way. So it looks really easy if you do like this basic kata. Clearly this music video is better than kata, right? But it's very, very hard, honestly, when you get like a black belt. So I've done it myself in more than 1 martial art, both in Taijutsu, karate, taekwondo, and so on, right? But pops, and you have to do it like you know, 10 plus katas, right? Without, I mean, you get like a water break maybe, but you know what I mean? It's like kind of keep going basically, right, for like an hour, and then the rest of the students, they're not part of, say, the 7th kata. They always sit and watch basically in the 8th kata and so on, right? So you kind of like wrap watching that. You kind of like one day I have to do all this in the 12. And they also of course learn by watching the other people do. I did this one martial art called Taido for many years. Those katas are really crazy though, because Taido is like it's a fake martial art. No, it's very, very long. It is one martial art I've done in my life that is very non-contact, it's Taido. But the katas though in Taido are crazy hard, because instead of being an actual, like, I will punch you to win a martial art, right? Because Taido has very weird tournaments, you can't like hurt other person. But the katas in Taido are kind of badass, I have to say, to be fair, because they focus so much on flashy moments. So the black belt Taido kata has like volts kicks or whatever. Yeah, you have to do like freaking, like, you have to play like Kagemaru with a fighter and do like a double cartwheel flip over a wall. Like, it's crazy. Like, it's really, really crazy. Of course, the katas in Taido are completely pointless because they're all flashy and no one takes any damage from them. No one sees it, right? So they're all like, you know, do like a flip kicks or whatever, right? Obviously, if one blocks you, you will lose immediately, right? So they have zero purpose in actual martial art, but it looks really crazy. But honestly, from a kata perspective, I think Taido has actually really, really hard katas compared to like karate or whatever, because they are so flashy and like an acrobatic move, right? But obviously they're objectively terrible in an actual fight then, because it's the same thing with like some other martial art techniques, right? The flashier they are, the worse tend to be, right? Because if someone blocks you, imagine you doing like a somersault backflip kick, right? And someone blocks you, you're gonna fall to the ground and break your leg, basically, like I've done, right? Yeah, it's terrible, like, it's super terrible. Anyway, now we saw the video to point out that clearly this is based on like a Japanese, you know, typical karate. Yeah, this is very much based on a dojo, right? So if you train a martial art and you probably be in the IB, and it's gonna be a super hard. I'm sorry, but this video, I was gonna be like, yeah, I'm a martial artist, guys. But seriously, right? One thing that's very, very common for the thing there is the whole os, right? So if you ever been in a dojo, this is what you scream all the time. Obviously, I mean, this is exactly what graphics, right? This is exactly how it's in dojo. You and I'm sure the girls, when they were, I'm sure maybe all three of them would have been in a dojo, right? This is super common. So basically, if you do your train together, right? Everyone's like, os, os, os. That's how it sounds, right? You go into a dojo, instead of saying Hadouken, Hadouken, it sounds this dash like that, os, 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 os. This is how it sounds, right? And it depends what you're doing, but it's very, very common that you do the scream. And as I mentioned earlier, when you do your kata, right? A typical kata might be that, okay, first I block to this way, right? Then I block that, you know? Then I block like that. Then I block like that. Then I do a punch forward, right? So the way it goes then tends to be, you know, block, 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 os, right? And you do your punch forward. That's kind of like a very common thing in a kata. So you don't do like an os every time, but you tend to be like os when you do like punch or a kick, and this is my kind of, this is my attack, basically, right? That's how it tends to be. So, like I said earlier, if you have like a 40 step kata, right? 40 moves kata, half of those moves tends to be like defense, like blocks or whatever, right? So perhaps you only do an os maybe every fourth ability or whatever, or it's like, it's something very flash, like I mentioned earlier, or you do like a somersault kick, right? And then you do like, oh, so you can have that. That's how it tends to be. So this is how it sounds, absolutely. So like the song course goes like os, 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 of course. Oh, so you get that kind of... Yeah, that's also scary. Now, to be fair, right, in karate you don't have any weapons. So that's like, looks like a bull, right? In karate, obviously karate means empty hand, right? So it's all about, you know, punching someone. Yeah, or like the punching someone with like a fist, right, you know? one side note thing about it, I remember when I started training Kung Fu, and I love how Kung Fu is a difference between doing this thing, right? When you have your hand like this, or doing this thing, yeah. one is like that. One, this is my dojo, okay, with Kung Fu. One is this thing, is the panther fist, okay? We call it the panther can, right? And this other one, this is the tiger, yeah. That's why I remember this, yeah. Like, I've been doing Kung Fu for many years. And I was like, yeah, this thing, when you have the open, yeah, the hand is more like, you know, not as like, you know, this thing, yeah. Then it's like the tiger. And this thing, they call that's a panther. Stuff like that, it definitely comes to my mind now. But it is interesting, I think, from another aspect that, yeah, weapons isn't used in karate normally, but of course, traditionally in Japanese martial art, you have a lot of weapons, right? And in the classical Okinawa karate, whatever, you have weapons, like tonfa and so on, yeah. So it's a little bit like weird, but I think it is because outside of Japan, right, martial art tends to have a bad rep sometimes, right? Because people use it to go and fight people or whatever, blah, blah, so on. Especially during the 80s, there was a ninjutsu scare, right? So, for example, I trained taijutsu then, right, for many years, or that's called, of course, ninjutsu, traditionally, right? But they renamed that martial art from ninjutsu to taijutsu in Sweden and so on, right? Because it had like a bad rep there. Oh, it's like ninja, oh, it's like, you know, offensive martial art, or it's like we're gonna, you know, become criminals or whatever, right? So they renamed all those dojos to taijutsu instead of ninjutsu. But it was comedic because in the taijutsu dojo, right, taijutsu has like 9 different like sub-genres or sub-styles, we call it, right? So if it rys inside of it, and most of them then have weapons in them. So they was called ninjutsu, right? Was the actual name because it's like, you know, you find weapons, right? But taijutsu, tai means body in Japanese, so jutsu means technique, of course. So taijutsu means like body technique, right? Ninjutsu, of course, means also, yeah, ninjas. So it's kind of weird because it was in name only, you know what I mean? It was in name only, yeah. It was like, no, this is like a, not a ninja, I will have Troy stars, yeah. It was like in name only purely, right? For PR, yeah. But you actually went to the dojos, they had all these weapons and staffs and swords and whatever. That being said, in karate though, in most karate dojos, you will not find any weapons, like this bow here. Like almost never. But I do think you do it in Japan though, that's what I mean. So a little bit different there. It's like outside of Japan, at least in Europe, I think karate very much tends to not have any weapon dojos, right? But I think it's mostly with the PR thing, because you don't want to have this like, oh no, we're like, you know, crazy criminals or whatever, you just want to kill people, yeah. So they tend to be like very shy from that. And sometimes it might even be because of foundings, right? Like if you have weapons in it, it might be harder to get like some, like the local commute might not pay for your, because you in like in Sweden and Norway and so on, right? So much of the money into any sports are paid by like funds, right? Like sporting funds, like welfare and so on. So it's a lot of money going to that. So if you have like a staff then in your dojo, you might be like, no, this is too violent, so we won't pay you. You know, you won't get like your $100,000 yearly, you know, funded. No, I'm really going to say here, but I was thinking about it. That this, of course, looks very typical martial arty, typical like kung fu movie, right? But I think that in most karate dojos, at least outside of Japan, you wouldn't actually ever find people with this kind of staff technique, because they don't do that at all, like in Europe. Like in Sweden, no, you don't have it at all. You know, it's very much frowned upon then, right? But yeah, a little couple of you Japanese, because I mean, obviously I've been in a lot of karate in Japan, and I feel that weapon uses in karate in Japan is much more common, of course, like Okinawa especially. So I'm just putting it. I love this martial art dance, though. It's awesome. Oh no, they're taken down. Oh no, they're losing the fight. Okay, she's doing like a pose here. That looks like Kabuto armor, maybe. kind of macabre or death skull. Yeah, it looks like the Halloween yesterday, yeah. That was cool. Of course, he destroys the. Have you ever done that? So I've done it a lot, you know. When I was 13, right? So before I did karate, or same time then, but before I did karate, I did taekwondo. I mentioned for many years, right? So when I was 13, that was the first time when I broke those bricks, right? When I was like bricks and hit back, right? Obviously, blood sport, Van Damme, best whatever. But yeah, so I've done this a lot, right? Growing up as a kid, and in that kind of as I mentioned earlier, that I did like half-ass break my leg yesterday, right? But it's kind of like, yeah, you get used to this stuff. Because people could ask me yesterday, oh, do you have like, oh, are you in pain? And I'm like, well, I have like really high pain threshold, so it also might be that I just don't feel it, honestly. And I mean it not to be like a tough guy, like, yeah, you know, I don't feel pain. But this is more like, no, it's really painful, but it's like, yeah, I've been through worse. And you get that. And that was the one thing that I taught me for many years. The biggest thing you can take on from being a good martial artist as a self-defense thing is to be able to take pain, okay? It sounds like weird and negative, but when I was young, okay, I was in college, I used to actually be a trainer for like self-defense for women, okay? And of course I've been like a trainer in dojo too, you know, normal martial arts stuff, right? I've been teaching judo, I've been doing taijutsu and taekwondo, etc., etc., so forth, at a normal dojo, right? But then I also was like a trainer or whatever you call it, coach or whatever, right? For self-defense for women, right? For a few years. And then I also worked on self-defense tools with a woman then that I met in college. And that actually made me interested because maybe you've seen the thing when you pull out thing and it screams, right? That's very common in Japan, you know, the kids have that. I don't know what it's called, but you pull out and it gets like a screaming loud, right? But we actually worked on that kind of stuff way before they were sold, okay? We were very early with that, so we started developing that, and we wanted to make it like not as clear. So maybe you had like a neck that you could pull and so on, but whatever, I digress. But my point is that when I was trying to teach people, women in this case, and that's women, right? Being able to take pain, and it sounds stupid, but expecting pain in your brain, right, is usually the most important thing, okay? It's not to have the good technique, it's not to be stronger, it is to have the mental capacity. And I know it sounds very anime, but it is anime, right? To take a punch and get up again. You know, that the whole mother thing, this is the best way to fight on the street, okay? Not necessarily in the dojo or a tournament, but in an actual fight. Because when someone attacks you on the street, right, you have to be able to expect the pain and just be like, whatever, I can take the pain, yeah. And turn it off for that moment, right? And usually it's come from the expectation that it will hurt and I will not make me falter, right, you know. So it's kind of weird to teach people though, and it's very hard, right? Because the thing is that you have to learn that, because unfortunately, right, I've seen it, I have friends seen it, I have a lot of trainers see the same thing, right? You know, a lot of people, they freeze up, right? You know, they can go to like a self-defense course for like a year, right? And then when the attacker attacks them, they just freeze up, you know, fight or flight, and they just, you know, it's a very common issue, right? They will just they won't use technique anyway. So I was kind of a brutal teacher. So I was training my students mostly to be like, you will take a punch and you will stand up. Yeah, I was like, you will take the punch and get up again. No, but it was kind of like that. I was like, no, you have to like be able to like stand up, okay? Mentality, right? There's like half the fight is be able to actually just take the blow and not back down, okay? And it's gonna hurt you so on, right? And I think about it now and seeing the brick thing. The brick thing actually, in this case, I think that destroying the bricks and the planks, the most important value of that is this thing, right? I mean, you learn, you grow up doing karate and so on, you learn to punch really hard or kick really hard, right, to destroy this brick, and it hurts, okay? Every time you destroy a brick, your hand hurts. Trust me, yeah? And I have a lot of bloods and scars on my hands, right, because you hit wrong and you get them in scar or whatever. Like, I have a lot of scars on my fist, small little cuts, right, in my stuff here, and I have some scars on my fingers, right? You get that. And also, for that matter, I'm very unflexible in my fingers, okay? Like, I have a very hard time doing this thing here, Because when I was a kid, I was doing this stuff all the time, breaking bricks, breaking this stuff, right? And of course I kind of broke my hands, and I broke my hand, and like this bone here, and I have so much like small injuries in my hands, right? That I've broken my fist, I've broken it so many times that I have almost no flexibility in my fingers anymore, and I also feel almost no pain then. And also I feel, but also right, I kind of punched away my own pain threshold, right? Like seriously, I don't mean joking, but this is a good training part. I think a lot of people actually, I think a lot of people actually misunderstand the purpose of this destroying the Britain, right? It looks cool or whatever, but it's mostly to teach you how to punch things and not hold back, right? Because if you punch it hard enough, you will do more damage to it, it will be destroyed, but you will take pain in your fist, right? And you have to overcome that. Because I mentioned at some point, you have to be able to punch someone really hard and be like, that's gonna hurt me too, okay? Like my fist will also hurt if I punch someone really hard, but you have to actually do it, right? And if they punch you back, it kind of goes back. So you have to learn to kind of master your own pain, okay? And I know maybe I'm just talking about it a lot now because I just broke my own leg here. But that's kind of what I mean yesterday too. I was like, people are like, oh, you're okay? I was okay, but I'm going to die from this thing. You know what I mean? Oh, should we go to the hospital? Like, nah. I was like, and some people are like, you're an idiot, right? And I know some of my coworkers tomorrow can be like, you're completely insane. But I'm like, but not really, because I know for a fact that it's not broken. I would be able to walk on it after like an hour, right, if it's broken. So I know that it's something they can do for me today. Hospital, right? And pain doesn't really bother me at all, so I don't need like pain. I don't need some kind of whatever morphine or whatever. Yeah, I never use that. Like I feel pain, but it doesn't bother me. Like that's that weird thing probably. But it's not like in a machistic way. It doesn't give me pleasure either. Right? I just don't care about it. Like it's painful, whatever. Like, not do it, right? So it's kind of a weird thing, but. This destroying the brick thing, in that sense, is really important because it teaches you how to handle your pain, I think. That's the main thing. And as a side note, when you punch them, though, it hurts more if you fail, though. Yeah, that's not something you learn, right? If you punch in like a brick or a classic plank thing in karate, you punch through it, right? If you fail and you punch half-ass to it, then it hurts more, right? This is basic physics. Because if you punch through it, the physics, this is Newton's third law, it will be divided, right? The distribution of the force will be divided. But if you punch into like a wall, right, you don't crush it, you will have Newton's third law then, it reflects pain back to you, right? So if I press this thing here, right, the wall, right, my fingers will get the exact amount of Newton back into my fingers. It's called like reflective force, whatever in English, but it's basically Newton's third law. And if you punch through it, that it won't be able to reflect equally back to you. So if you punch really hard and you destroy it, like the walls level, right, you won't feel the exact same force back, right? So you will take less damage. But if you punch it half-assed, right, let's say 1,000 newtons, yeah, you will get 1,000 newtons back because it's survived, right? But if you do like 2,000 newtons and you crush it, you will take less damage because it won't reflect like 50 back to you. So it also teaches you how to like punch really hard because you have to actually go through it because it takes more pain otherwise. Trust me. Same thing there, yeah, kick through it better. Through it. Oh, is it them behind the wall? What a woman behind him? Were they fighting the ghost? Yeah, so wait. I love this bit though. I love this like Kata dance. Oh, it's cool, man. It's cool. Yeah, it's cool. Catch song together. Yeah. It's catchy song. I love that like karate, Kata dance, but we can see here, they're doing like a because it's interesting, right? Because what they're doing is they're basically doing a kata, obviously talking about a lot in this video, but it's also what they're doing, right? Is that they're kind of they're doing obviously a dance move, right? This is clearly a dance and not an actual martial art technique because it's kind of flimsy or whatever, right? It wouldn't have enough force to it. However, they are dancing, but they're kind of doing it rough, you know what I mean? They're not like flowing, you know, kind of like gently. They're kind of like dancing and doing like this thing, right? Half and then half doing like a normal dance. So you get like you get this kind of cool, you get the impactful dance thing where you kind of like sometimes you're doing like a rougher on your body, right? So it looks really badass, yeah. You got a cool touch to it, and it's a good chorus. I think it was a very good catchy chorus, absolutely. But overall, I think I really liked these visuals here. It felt like a cool, you know, like tribute to martial art, right? And of course, a lot of martial arts tend to be called like, oh, it's better to use dance, yeah, it's like choreography. But I think this is kind of more what it is, right? Because this is kind of like the actual mixture of dance and martial art. That being said, though, I actually would agree that a lot of martial art movies, especially the one that are not done in the East but in the West, right, they tend to be more like this, when the actual movement is too soft, right, and then it gets hard sometimes, where the horse wouldn't actually amount to enough force to actually hurt someone if you're actually fighting them. So it is true, though, a lot of that stuff. And absolutely, don't get me wrong, of course, there's a lot of fake martial out there, the whole McDoddy and so on. Absolutely. But I think it's kind of mentioned earlier, right? Like I did Taido. Taido is just like, this is too flashy, yeah. It's too much, you know, it's too much cartwheeling around instead of actually punching someone. But that tends to be how I look at it, right? The most effective martial art tends to be the one that are the most efficient, right? You know, you also think about your own effectiveness, like in energy too. Like you want to have maximum leverage, right? Like least amount of energy used by yourself to do maximum amount of force to the opponent, right? But you also want to use it with generally because you don't want to get tired, right? Fighting a lot of people, yeah. You want to be able to fight people as long as you possibly can, right? That's one thing. Overall, though, I think that martial arts that are the best ones tends to be like Yudo and so on. Overall, in like a street fight, because if you throw someone on the ground, you can then either run away or whatever. Yeah, but it tends to be the best way to actually win or disengage from a fight. It's Yudo and Jutsu and so on. You can just grab someone and throw them on the ground, you know, and like sweep them and run. Yeah, because the thing is that most people doesn't know how to fight at all, right? You know, most people, like I said earlier, when I fell yesterday and I did like a somersault, like a judo technique, right, to spin around, right, and get up on my feet again. Most people doesn't know how to do it at all, right? They have like zero concept of how to like survive, like a fall or a sweep or whatever, right? Or like a judo throw at all. So where if you punch someone, okay, they can't fight still, but they kind of have that general, oh, I'm gonna grab you or something, you know what I mean? So yeah, usually when I have actual martial art fight on the street, it's been judo, it's been my go-to survival, and then after that it's been Muay Thai. Yeah, absolutely Muay Thai, because Muay Thai is so effective. Muay Thai is like elbows and knees, so Muay Thai tends to be better because, like I was in this fight many years, 20 years ago, right? And after I did a judo throw on him, and I went away from him and disengaged, he ran after me and wanted to fight anyway. Then I just, kicked, then I did the typical Muay Thai thing. When he grabbed me with the neck clinch, so I just kneed him in the solar plexus, and he just went down, man. And then he just I was like, okay, yeah, okay. So that's Muay Thai is very, very like powerful, yeah, because we have this really powerful knees mostly, and also elbows, but especially the knees, right? Like a really powerful knee to someone's plexus or face, then you basically won, right? So it's like one of those knees will like basically eliminate almost anyone. Doesn't know how to fight. But overall, though, yeah, I was like judo and grabs and so on, because you throw them on the ground, and most people can't handle that because they have no like concept how to like get up again. Like, what happened? How am I here? I love the effects, though. Yeah, but it's a cool music video. I love the effects. The kicking and punching. You get a little bit of Dragon Ball feel to it, or Avatar, Last Airbender, yeah, they're here for it, yeah. They're like, and then but it's cool, man. This thing just never stops being cool, right? Maybe I'm just a martial artist, I love this thing, but it never stops being cool. Every martial artist, we want this thing, right? We want this thing. I want it to be, guys, and I do this, like, I want you guys to see all the, air, like explode around my head, right? This is every martial artist's dream, is to do like a punch, and then ascend this, like, Kamehameha, Hadouken, yeah, like Hadouken. Every martial art dream is this thing, right? You want to punch something and do like an energy way, your ki is for your body, and you're like, ooh, you move everything around, right? Have you ever done this thing? We're in the pool. This is why I love going to Florida, because I get as much water in the pool, right? Have you ever been standing in the pool? You're like, yeah. You punch in the water. Come on, I do it all the time, okay? I admit it, man. And I'm going to swim. I go to the pool to do martial art. But honestly, I do that, though. Last time I was in Florida, I was in Florida this summer, pretty recently, and also I was in Bath last month, 2 years ago, and absolutely, I go to the pool and I do this. I do katas in the pool, like 100%. I do katas in the pool. I do it all my whole life. I love it. But it's fun doing because in the pool, right? Because you get the water moving and it feels good. But it also it's a good exercise, right? Because it's hard to do one martial art technique in the pool, right? Because you get all the assistance, right? So I think it's great. And but it was a good music video. I like it. Visually it's very appealing. I would say I don't really get the concept of the skull guys, though. Yeah. So leave a comment below, guys. It's supposed to be Kami or something. I don't really get that. It's supposed to be the other people that they had before they had the Kami. Or something. They have obviously kind of the similar skull thing to like Gimme and so on. And they kind of defeat them in the end, I guess, with their like spiritual Kata or something. But I will say, yeah, I don't really get this. I don't really get the point of these people. I will say it straight up, guys. Like, I guess they're like some evil spirits are fighting or something. And then it looks kind of like they have like a priest prayer mask on them. Not maybe necessarily in this scene, but another scene when I saw some of the musicians in the background. It looked like they had this Japanese. I can't remember what it's called, but it's called like walking monk or walking priest in Japanese. I'm translating roughly here now. When they're walking around, right, with this thing on the head, and not this image here, but another image from we saw person that kind of looked like that a little bit. So maybe that's what it's inspired to as well, because they have a classic like Japanese Buddhistic thing, I believe, when they have that mask on their face. But I can't remember what it's called now. But I think it's called like wandering monk or something in English. But it reminds me that it definitely might be inspired. But yeah, it's more of those skull people. I don't know, but I guess it was them themselves right in the end. Maybe it's like a typical Shadowboxing thing, right? There's a lot of games and anime and so on. You have to fight your inner demons. Yeah, you have to fight your cube inside of you. And then you have to overcome it, right? With your badass martial art, and then you become one with yourself, yin and yang and so on. Maybe that's what it means, right? Because it's one scene that looked like it was them behind the mask, right? Just BABYMETAL themselves behind the mask. Maybe, I don't know. Yeah, I felt like this is like my inner demon I had to overcome, right? What do you guys think? Anyway, guys, that's a much longer video than I expected. I just want to talk away my pain, right? No, but seriously, yeah, it's been very painful making this video. Like, literally, I've been in constant pain making this video. Like, the whole video. Like, just right now as well, right? But I don't let it bother me that much. I just keep talking too much then. No, but that's what I mean, right? Like, yeah, okay. Maybe I'm like in 4 out of 10 pain now, like, consistently for the whole day. But, like, you know, like, I'm more bothered a bit tomorrow. I have to go to work tomorrow. Yeah, I'm gonna have to just walk there. But I do have this like badass Japanese walking cane though, so I'm gonna finally use it again. Anyway, guys, have a great day.